Good evening and welcome to the Sound Off Show. My name is Linda Kirker. I host the program and I thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it when you tune in, and I think you're going to learn a few things tonight, as I hope you always do. But before I introduce my two guests, I would like to share, I'm a big one for sayings and things like that, and this is one that I think is a good message for any of us. The rules for life. I am responsible for myself and to myself. I create my own experiences and feelings. When I talk with someone, I'm saying more about myself than about the other person. And at any time, I'm doing the best I can. And you know, there's one part of that brought something to mind. When I spoke to the 7th and 8th graders at one of the schools, one of the things I told them was exactly, when I talk with someone, I'm saying more about myself than the other person. And that was in reference to treating other people nicely and avoiding bullying. It's just a little tidbit to remember. And this little bit I want to share with you because it's something that I believe in solidly. The American's Creed. I believe in the United States of America as a government of the people, by the people, for the people, whose just powers are derived from consent of the governed, a democracy in a republic, a sovereign nation of many sovereign states, a perfect union, one and inseparable, established upon these principles of freedom, equality, justice, and humanity, for which American patriots sacrificed their lives and fortunes. I therefore believe it is my duty to my country to love it, to support its Constitution, to obey its laws, to respect its flag, and to defend it against all enemies. And that was written in the early days of our country by William Tyler Page, who was a clerk in the House of Representatives. I just think he did a good job. And with that, I would like to introduce my two guests. And the first one, way over, farthest away from me, is Leanne Wright, who is the director of the Northwest Technical Center. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on. And right next to me is Lisa DeRocher, and Lisa is the assistant director to Leanne of the program at Tech Center. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's nice to have you both here. Now, you haven't been on before, have you?
Nope.
No, and I know you haven't, so it's a first, folks. And I'm just so excited because I'm a really big believer in technical education. I think it's a gift. The opportunity is a gift for our young people. And so with that, why don't you tell us, if you would, Leanne, how you got into this program as the director, and approximately, 2007 or so? Or later?
Well, I've been at the center for 13 years. I started as a teacher, culinary arts teacher, and then I became the director after that.
So you can fill in when the culinary, the teacher is out for some reason.
Rarely out, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, well, it's nice that I see the culinary students out in the community sometimes, which makes a connection between the technical center, the young people, and the community. For folks to know what you're doing and to meet the young people. So, Lisa, as the assistant director, tell me about you and when you came into the program and what you're doing.
Sure. Well, I joined the Northwest Technical Center about 5 years ago, and previously to that, I was a business teacher at the Green Mountain Technology and Career Center in Lamoille County. And before that, I was in corporate finance and training. So it was a really nice way for me to just shift into education after my corporate career. And then after education, I said, well, I want to become an administrator, and shifted into that. So it's been a nice transition for me, and I love it.
That's the word I was going to use. What a transition. So I can only imagine how it feels to be with the young people every day. I mean, I'm sure there are challenges from time to time in everything, but I was going to ask, what is the thing that you enjoy the most about being involved with the technical program, and how much actual exchange or contact do you have with the students themselves?
We have a lot of contact with the students. Lisa and I are in and out of the classrooms often. And I think what I enjoy most are the aha moments that students have, particularly when they're in a program that they see themselves in a career. So oftentimes students will come in their 10th grade year and maybe explore in a particular program and decide, it's not for them. They realized being in culinary, they need to stand on their feet for 9, 10, 12 hours a day in a career, and so maybe that's not for me. And so we like to think that's a good thing, because we have students that are eliminating careers that they don't want to spend money on when they exit high school.
The negative and the positive, exactly.
Right, so that gives them an opportunity to explore another career. And so once they have found that passion and they realize that's the right fit for them, that's good to see.
Absolutely. And yeah, I can almost feel that aha moment as you said that, and I can also feel when, no, this isn't going to work for me. But that great feeling that you have, I really like this. I think I could do this for my livelihood. And how about you, Lisa?
Well, me personally, I like to see when the community events happen. So when we hold a community event, we have kids involved, we have teachers involved, we are involved, we have employers involved, other nonprofit agencies. And when we come together for a large event, such as the job interview workshop that we just held, it's just a beautiful blend of everybody working toward the same goal.
I was going to ask, I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to ask about the workshop, the sign-up workshop, right? Was that in February? Didn't you do, maybe I misread when I was looking at the computer today, but you just had some sort of, I think, time when students could maybe decide whether they want to come into the tech program or not. Correct me if I'm wrong.
We have a preferred deadline of April 15th for students to put their application in for programs. And we do that for programs that might have a waiting list. And we have prerequisites for some of our courses because many of the courses have college credit and industry recognized credentials that are rigorous, and so we need to make sure that students are prepared and ready to take the coursework and do the coursework load.
So is that, do you determine that readiness through an interview or a review of what they've done so far and what their aspirations are, or telling them about the program in particular?
It's based on courses that they've taken at their sending high school. So, for example, in our medical professions program, they need to be proficient in high school biology before they enter medical professions. And the reason for that is they're going to be doing college-level work, such as human biology and medical terminology and anatomy and physiology. And then students have the option to either take the licensed nursing assistant course their senior year or pharmacy technician. So both both of those courses are at the adult level. So we want to make sure that they have the foundation to be successful.
So there are steps along the way.
Correct.
Okay, that's interesting because having been a nurse myself, do you do any medical technology or?
There's medical terminology
Okay.
in medical professions, and then when Lisa's going to talk about the Career Development Center, she can talk to you about the different health courses that are offered there.
Now, the Career Development Center, is that different from the Tech Center?
It's part of our whole school. So The Career Development Center is a place where adults and even high school students can, what I use the word upskill, to find, explore potential careers that they might want to pursue.
Lots of stuff going on there.
It's a busy place.
Would you like to tell us about the career development, or?
Sure, if this is a good time.
Sure.
So, as Leanne said, the Career Development Center offers training to students, whether they're in high school or adults. Primarily the students who take them in high school, they're usually juniors or seniors. And it's similar to continuing education. When you look at a college, they have a continuing education department. So we really focus on training and career development. And we're one of 16 regional technical centers, and each technical center in the state needs to provide this type of training. Because what we want to do is we want to be the preferred trainer of the workforce. And that's what we're doing. So if an adult wants to contact their local regional technical center and they're interested in welding, we have welding. If they want to contact our technical center and ask about health careers, we do have training in that area. We have programs such as licensed nurse assisting. We have medical assisting. We have phlebotomy. And we
done a lot of that.
That's what I thought. And we just recently had our last class for medical coding.
Medical what?
Medical coding.
Coding? Mm-hmm. Tell me about that. What is that?
Well, I don't teach the course, Linda, so I'm not.
Okay.
I can give you the quick one, but yeah. So it's part of. When you're a medical assistant, I know a lot of medical assistants have to do a little bit of coding, and that's actually finding codes for procedures.
Oh, billing codes.
Yes.
Okay, I get it. Mm-hmm. Okay, I never had to do that because I was never in that kind of a thing. But there are a lot of interesting opportunities and options in the medical field. That's one of the things that's great about it, whether you want hospital work or office work or, oh gosh, I worked for the Red Cross Blood Program. Mm-hmm. You can just go on and on. You can be a school nurse, depending upon who you are and what turns your wheel, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Right.
This is it's comprehensive, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, it is.
And I'm assuming that each program or each course has, a curriculum, obviously.
Oh, yes.
Now, is there more than one instructor in like for motor vehicles? You have a course. I call it motor vehicles, but I don't know what you call it.
Yeah, that is called automotive technology.
Thank you.
In our technical center. And not every program has more than one instructor, but a few do. For example, in the automotive technologies program, we have one instructor, and then we have what we call a lab supervisor. So it's someone that's trained in the field that can provide support to the teacher in that particular technical field. So the instructor and his lab supervisor work together to deliver curriculum and then to work in the lab. So they decide who's going to be working in the applied setting of the lab and who will be working in the classroom. So they divide the students so that they have smaller groups and they can make sure that they understand the content.
Okay, so a question comes to mind in regard to that. Are there people who worked in that field who have, let's say, just retired, but have a lot of knowledge and experience? Do you have people like that who are working in the programs? No.
We don't, and it's not that we're opposed to it, it just doesn't seem to happen. We might have some guest speakers, or we might have someone that's knowledgeable in a particular industry that wants to come and speak to our students, so we always welcome that. But as far as retired instructors, that has not happened. I don't think that they're looking to teaching as a second career because it's pretty hard job.
That's probably true. Yeah.
We do have some instructors who come back to be substitute teachers, and that's nice.
In the program? Oh, okay. Okay.
But sometimes they may also be a substitute in other programs as well. But once you're a teacher, you're always a teacher.
Well, yeah, I can understand that. And you know what's nice too is that there are careers where you also not affiliated with the school, but where you also have opportunities for teaching. You know, for let's say you're working at a place and someone new comes on board, and you have an opportunity to be a mentor or whatever. I think that's rewarding because you have an opportunity to help someone else and share your knowledge.
Right.
Absolutely.
So it's a gift.
It is a gift. You had asked about people that may have retired and want to come back into come to the profession. We actually have the opposite that happens, where we have alumni that come and want to be a part of the school. So, for example, the lab supervisor I was just telling you about in automotive, he was a student. He was an automotive student in that program. And he went to automotive college in Ohio, I believe. I'm not positive about that. And then worked in industry for a few years. And this particular position opened, and he applied, and he got it. So,
Really?
So he knows the systems in place because he's been there. Same thing has happened in our culinary program. We have our chef instructor, and we recently hired a lab supervisor. And again, this particular student went to our culinary program, went away to Culinary Institute of America, got his baking and pastry degree.
Oh.
Worked off site at an externship, and then this position came open, and he wanted to teach.
Isn't that great?
Right, and then we have one more example, and that's our building trades instructor.
Exactly.
And he was a student in building trades. He went to VTC, earned his degree in construction management, worked in the field, and is now one of the building trades teachers.
Wow, the knowledge base and the experience are so invaluable. Do this, don't do this kind of a thing from experience.
Right.
That's great. And now that you mentioned VTC, I can't help it. My grandson was in your tech program, right?
Yes, he was. Eric, yes.
And he must have studied engineering. Did you have engineering something or other at that point?
We did, but he didn't take that program.
Do you know what he took?
He took culinary with me.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's how you knew him so
Correct.
well. Yeah. Well, he's not in culinary now, but maybe he helps out at home.
Well, what I believe is that the skills that he learned, the transferable skills, made him successful, and he just had a great personality as well.
Well, he worked at the hospital too on like weekends and vacations and things. And I hate to get off the subject here, but I have to tell you this. Being who he was, and you knew him, it came time for Christmas dinner, and I said, "Oh, honey, Christmas dinner will be at such and such a time." And he looked at me and he says, "I can't come." I said, "You can't come? Why?" He says, "I'm working at the hospital and they're paying time and a half." So that's my boy.
Yeah.
But he's down in North Carolina now. He went to VTC. And they had him tutoring other students there.
Yeah.
And he's now the manager of the department. He's how old? 30, 31?
I believe it.
Smarty pants.
Yeah.
He was working with robotics. He sent me a picture of this huge factory with robotic shelving and all kinds of things that you couldn't imagine. It looked like something from outer space to me because that's not my thing. But what they're doing today, is unbelievable. So now he's the manager of the department.
That's wonderful.
And he has a little girl.
That's wonderful.
Okay, I'll get off my grandson.
I just wanted to add one thing. So your grandson was in the culinary program, and we have part of the Northwest Technical Center is what's called work-based learning. And so Eric took advantage of the work-based learning, and he worked at the hospital as part of his program through the culinary program. So he got a SurfSafe certification through the industry recognized credentials.
What is that called?
SurfSafe certification.
Oh, okay.
So it's basically an assessment that says that he knows how to handle food safely, and that's what all hospitals require, and many restaurants. And so part of his day was spent at the hospital where he was earning high school credit, and he was also getting paid. So he must have worked his way up the ranks and worked there through college.
Sounds like Eric.
It's a win-win.
Yeah, he's a good. I call him a kid, but he's a man now.
Yeah.
But I knew that you liked him and as a student, and so I just couldn't help myself because I like him too. I love him. Okay, let's see. You have 11 programs, 11 courses. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit? I mean, you have cosmetology. I couldn't believe the list. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah. So you want me to just tell you a little bit about the format of the classes, and then we can talk about the individual programs?
Sure.
So as Lisa said, we are a regional technical center. So the high schools that send students to us are from BFA, who is attached to us, and then also students from MVU. And so those two high schools send us students, and they can apply and participate in our programs, one of 11 programs.
I was just going to ask a question, but then it occurred to me, because I live in Georgia, and we have school choice.
Yes.
So I was high school choice. So I was wondering if any students from Georgia come to BFA and get involved with the programs.
Yes. What I would say is that there are many students that choose to go to BFA as a result of wanting to be a part of a Northwest Technical Center program. Yes.
That doesn't surprise me, actually.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That you have a reputation.
We're continually working on it.
That's a good thing.
It is. How our school day works is that in our programs it's 2 periods long. So on average our class time is about 2 hours, and that gives the students enough time to cook, do what they need to do in the auto shop. Dissect sheep brains, whatever happens to be happening in that moment. But just wanted you to understand that it's a 2-hour class.
So then that leads me to one of the questions I had written down, and that is, so the students who participate in the Tech Center programs, also that's a part of, it's combined with their regular schooling.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Instead of going out for gym class or something, you're going to the Tech Center. Okay.
Well, they have to fulfill their required graduation requirements at their high school, and they can take the Tech Center courses. Sometimes students have to make choices. If they want to take advanced placement classes and they want to take band and foreign language, sometimes it just doesn't fit. So they have to make a decision about whether it's going to be the Tech Center or it might just be, regular courses from their sending high school.
You can't do it all.
I know.
That's where making decisions and choices in life comes in, right?
Right.
Yes.
And one thing to add is out of the 16 regional technical centers, there's different types of formats, there's different types of delivery models. So for instance, what Leanne was just saying is our students come for 2 hours, and then we also have a second half of the day. So other technical centers, they have students there all day, and they take part in their graduation requirements within that program. So there's pros and cons to both. A half day or a full day model, but we are a half day model. And the other thing with all technical centers, it's a choice for the students to come here.
Well, and they discover who they are through these kinds of opportunities and choices in life, right? But you kind of get a sense, even at that young age, of what you think you might be interested in.
Right.
Or what you think might be a good field to be in as a career. So that's great. Now, do you work? Oh, no, I'm going to back up. Do the students ever go to work outside of the school setting at a business through the program?
Yes. And that was the work-based learning that I was talking about. So that was happening way back when your grandson was participating in career and technical education, and it's still happening today. As a matter of fact, It's happening all over the state, even with high schools through Act 77. It's called Flexible Pathways, trying to engage students in their learning and ensuring that they explore career and college options. So with all of our students, we try to get them at a minimum a job shadow. So every one of our programs will take a field trip to a local business to expose them to the
real world.
The real world, the variety of careers that are available to them. And so some students might do multiple job shadows, but at the very least, we have our students do at least a job shadow. Then some of our programs have what's called work-based learning, which is part of their program. So there might be students that are actually going on a weekly basis to a local business to work and sort of dig in and experience what it would be like to be a preschool teacher or a physical therapist,
mechanic
or a plumber or an electrician, all of that. And then we have what's called cooperative education, and that's what Eric did, and that is that students get paid while they're in school and they get high school credit. So if they fulfilled their requirements for the 2-year program, then they can be dismissed from school and they go and they work and get their career started right away, their senior year in high school. And sometimes they might head off to college, or they might stay right in that business and work their way up.
Interesting, isn't it? The options, the opportunities that are out there. And for those students who may not like to have their nose in a book all the time, you know, they like to work more with their hands, even though you have to use your brain. You know, it's great that those options are there. We didn't have anything, well, what we had was, there was shop for the boys. You know, they could learn how to use machine tools and that type of thing. And then for the girls, there was either sewing or cooking as an elective.
Right.
And I took both, of course.
You took shop too?
No, no, I left that to the boys.
I could see you in shop.
Well, I do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
Whatever has to be done, I'm the one. Yeah, so life has changed, you know, in the education field, in the work field. You know, so much revolves now around technology. Now, you have technological program, correct? Mm-hmm. Can you speak to that, one of you?
Sure. I would say that there's technology in most programs. We have a digital design program, which is sort of like a graphic arts program. So there's lots of technology there. We are lucky enough, career and technical centers in Vermont are lucky enough to receive federal money where we can buy the equipment that's needed for our students to learn on. And that way it doesn't place the burden on taxpayers. So for example, in our digital design program, we have the latest Mac computers that students would be using if they were in the career. So they're able to experience high-end, top-notch, industry standard equipment.
That's great.
Yeah.
So the government provides that?
It's through the Carl D. Perkins grant. So federal money is awarded through all of the states, and then it's given to the individual technical centers based on a formula, and we use that money for large pieces of equipment that the local budget would otherwise not be able to afford.
Wow. Mm-hmm. That's pretty neat.
Yes.
Because then they're working with exactly the type of thing that if they get out into the world and function in that realm,
Correct.
that they're comfortable.
Yes.
And knowledgeable. Now, you have your little book open here. Was there something on here that you wanted to bring
Well,
up?
eventually we'll get to that because I know we have a lot to talk about. So this is in addition to the career development office that we have. So we have our daytime programs, and then we have our courses that we offer at nights and on the weekends.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Now, you're involved with that?
That's the Career Development Center.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
Okay.
So if there's an adult or a junior or a senior typically who's interested in taking a particular class, then they can call us, and maybe they're interested in, let's say, cooking methods and applied techniques, and that is taught by our chef Adam Monet. Then they can register for that class, and it may take place at night, it may take place on the weekends, but they register on our site and they pay for the course, they attend the course, come home with a lot of good food from this particular course, and hopefully they either are doing it for to advance their skills, but some do it just because they want to. So it's really a wonderful opportunity, and you talked about opportunities.
Yes.
There's a lot of opportunities for everybody in our community, and I think this is really a great way to share with your audience what we have to offer.
That's what I like to do,
Yeah.
is bring things out to the folks who are watching the show and let them think about what interests them and what they might like to get involved with. Or maybe they have children in school who haven't mentioned these opportunities, and maybe they'd like to encourage their children to look into, let's say I'm a student and I'm at home with my mom, and she's a great cook and she's always, having me help out in the kitchen, and, she and I love it. And then she might say, gee, did you know, that you could do this? Mm-hmm. Because even though the students are in the school and they know there's a tech program, and they may even know what a lot of the programs are, they may not have just had the idea that, gee, maybe I could do that, or maybe I would like to do that. So anyway, parents and grandparents who are watching, there are so many opportunities out there for your young people and even yourselves, right?
Absolutely.
Correct.
Even older people, do older people get involved in any of these programs, or is it?
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
There's lots of opportunity. We even offer CPR. A lot of people take that of all ages.
Yeah.
Our culinary classes, a lot of people take that. And, the welding is pretty much what you would expect and what they're looking to do. And the nice thing about our medical classes is it caters to all different types of people wherever they are in their career. So whether you're young and starting out and you want to become an LNA.
excuse me.
Yes.
We have a caller.
Okay.
Caller, welcome to the program. What's on your mind?
Well, Linda, you have some outstanding guests this evening, as you usually do.
Thank you, Jim.
I just mentioned that Casey Tooth and I visited with Leanne in the latter part of this past summer during the campaign, and
Yes.
she was extremely helpful to us. They're running a good show over there, and I'm proud in one way that I was business manager and AD at BFA when we built that building,
Oh,
and Leanne and I had a little visit about that.
uh-huh.
The only criticism that I've had, or at least I think I have, is I'm not sure the guidance department reaches deep enough down into grade 7, 8, and so forth, and really lets the kids know what's available at the tech center. It's outstanding, and I'm not sure that we are getting the message to the younger kids like we should be. I'm sure that I'm probably wrong. I stand corrected, Leanne, but I know you do everything in your power. I'm just not sure the rest of the school is doing it.
Well, I'd be happy to speak to that. And one of the things that we're trying to do, and that when I say we, I mean as a school community, is to communicate to kids earlier so that they understand
Yes.
what their choices are specific to careers, so that they can stay engaged, they can look forward to middle and high school, and create a plan, and also to ensure that they have the right sequence of courses to set themselves up for success. So we are.
So you're working on that.
We're working more on it than we ever have. So yes, we are.
Well, that's wonderful. Good to know, and thank you for the outstanding work you folks do.
Well, thank
I
you.
appreciate it as a taxpayer, and keep up the good work. You can take Linda in there too. She's not really a good cook, so maybe you want to do something with her.
I'll have to invite you over to dinner, and then you can decide.
Good work. Thanks for coming on. It's very interesting.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
being you, Jim.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye-bye. He's such a nice man. Yes, and what a nice compliment. He apparently was involved at one point, huh?
He called me and wanted to understand our Career and Technical Education Center, and I invited him in for a tour, and him and Casey came in, and I showed him around and told him he didn't need an invitation. He can come in anytime. And the same goes for you.
Well, thank you. I might just do that. Maybe I'll go into the medical part.
Absolutely.
And be an observer. Nice. Yeah. I've done a lot of different things. Darn it, something just occurred to me and it'll have to come back. Yeah, it's great when the public comes in and avails themselves of the opportunity to really know. But I interrupted you. Can you remember where you were?
Yes, I did remember.
Good. That's a good thing. Enjoy it while you have it.
I know.
Go ahead.
So, well, speaking of the public, and we have a lot of adults coming in our building at night and on the weekends with the career development coursework that we offer. And I was saying that within the health career field, we have people of all different age groups and backgrounds who enroll in different programs. So if you're interested in LNA, we may have students who are juniors or seniors in high school and want to pursue the medical field and wanting to take a look at LNA to determine, is this something that I really want to do? Plus, colleges are looking for that. Or there could be somebody who has worked in a particular field and now they're ready to make a switch, but they're really not sure if they want to commit to a full college course load. So they may want to take LNA, medical assisting, or phlebotomy, and then they can just go right into the workforce. So there's a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different age groups, and the beautiful thing about these courses is when you get everybody together in the same room, there's a lot of rich experience that people can talk about.
Oh, yeah. Sharing with one another. I think that's a great advantage right there. I just love this because it is an opportunity that I don't know how many years now this has been a general thing to have technical centers where these types of skills and abilities are available for learning. But I really think everybody isn't meant to go to college. Some people can do both, and they do. But there are great jobs out there that you don't have to go to college for, whether you're a plumber, an electrician, whatever it might be. Those are good jobs to have.
They are. We tell our students that when you graduate from high school, there needs to be additional training after high school in order to have a successful career. So, becoming a plumber or an electrician still requires education beyond high school, and to sort of set them up for success so that they are sure that that's the career that they want to pursue.
Are you suggesting to them that if they could go to work for someone in the field to get that what's the hands-on experience and knowledge, or it could be going on for further education, a formal education? Yeah. Oh, we have another caller.
Great.
Welcome to the program, caller. What's on your mind?
First-time caller.
You are?
Yeah.
Who's calling?
Well, you should pick up the voice. You will in a moment. Longer I keep talking, but anyway, question for your guest. I'm an old man. I'm going to be 70 in July.
You're young.
When I went to high school, like the panelist, I should say not the panelist, but the hostess. When we went to high school, it was pretty much, college or bust. I mean, that's pretty much the way it was. I mean, if you wanted to be a success, you had to go to college. And everybody else was kind of by the wayside, and, and they picked up other jobs, which turned out to be quite good, obviously. Plumbers, electricians, and the like, welders, and things like that. But today, I hope we're making the right decisions at the school levels, because it's not college or bust anymore. Sometimes it's college and bust. If you go to college and take the wrong course, you're left with a huge debt load and no job.
Right.
And Jim Fitzgerald there raised a good point about how early do you intervene. I have 4 grandchildren who live in Germany. They've been there 8 or 9 years. They're fully immersed in German schools. At around 11 or 12 years old, they're pointed in what direction. Mm-hmm. Their aptitude determines where they're going to go, whether they're going to go to a college level situation, whether they're going to go to Votech or kind of clerical. And the choice is made for them. I'm not suggesting we do that. That's just the way they do it over there. I think the German education system lacks in a lot of ways. They don't have much in terms of enrichment, no extracurriculars. All the sports are clubs. I think extracurriculars are quite important because some of your best friendships in high school are made in extracurricular, be it athletics, drama, band. So I think that's very important. I think the Germans lose out there. And I've had many conversations with German educators over there about that, and a lot of them agree with that. Yeah, but they're very focused. It's a country that's, engineering is, they're very famous for, and they're very focused. But I think just to belabor Mr. Fitzgerald's point a little bit, I mean, is there any blowback if you go down to the 6th and 7th grade levels and try to sell your product? Or is it well accepted?
It's welcome. We actually have a career exploration day at our school for all of our sending middle schoolers. So every 8th grader comes through our door and gets to explore at the minimum 2 programs. So typically what happens is we'll send our students to this middle school, and they will explain all of the different programs. So there are students that are in each individual program. And then the students get to choose 2 of those programs that they want to participate in. So they come back for a half of a day, and they spend an hour in one program and then an hour in another. And so that helps inform their choice about whether they want to engage in career and technical education at the high school level.
See, I'm going to belabor Jim's point even further, though. I totally concur with him. I think that's even too late, 8th grade. You're only a year away from high school. You got to get down. You should have 5th and 6th graders in there.
Yep.
And expose them to it, because that's where the seed germinates. It doesn't really germinate in the 8th grade sometimes. It's already germinated by the time they're in the 8th grade. They've got some type of focus that they envision of themselves already based on what, I can't really, guesstimate what it is, but let's say, at what level would there have to be action taken to get 6th graders in there to do what 8th graders do? Is that something that would have to be a state-level mandate, or is that something that Maple Run could do on their own?
Maple Run could do it on their own. It would... we would just have to work with the 6th and the 6th grade teachers to try to figure out, when they could come. So
I would think they would be joyous.
I agree.
If they had the opportunity.
We could do it in 6th grade, and we could do it again in 8th grade, just to kind of keep the trickle going.
I think you make a good point, Leonard. I figured out who you are.
Okay.
Because
a provocateur and a rabble-rouser.
I think those are great years to get them thinking.
Oh, the earlier the better. I mean, at least expose them to it. Mm-hmm. But as I say, it's so much different today than when I graduated from high school. I mean, it was kind of, there's almost a stigma attached if you didn't go to college. You know what I'm saying? You were kind of lower rung if you weren't in a college prep course. And today it's just the opposite. I applaud the educational establishment for putting so much focus on tech, because quite frankly, a lot of the tech people will end up doing much better than a lot of the college grads when it comes to income.
Yeah.
I have a young relative who's 20 years old, and with overtime, he's a lineman, went through your system. And, with overtime, he's probably pushing 6 figures almost.
And maybe job
he's like 21 or 22
satisfaction.
years old.
Absolutely.
And so it's out there. I mean, But I don't think that stigma exists today as much probably as it did back in the late 60s, does it? I think people kind of like tech, don't they? A lot of kids really, I would think, would really like to do it. You have numbers, I guess, that prove that.
Yeah, I mean, there is still a bit of a stigma attached to it. There are still some grandparents and parents that view it as less than.
I'm sorry, your last phrase about the parents and grandparents?
Parents and grandparents view career and technical education as less than. So, for example, you alluded...
As what again? My phone is
less
not good.
Than.
You said less than?
Less than the alternative.
Less
well, that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. But I guess maybe it's understandable because us old people are kind of set in our ways.
Well, wait a minute.
And I think maybe that's why that is. But I'm not one of those. I fully believe that, quite frankly, tech is the way to go. Mm-hmm. I mean, college today, engineering and math and the sciences and computer technology, artificial intelligence. In college, that's where it's at if you want a good job. Liberal arts, as you know, liberal arts departments in various colleges around the country are shutting down. Yeah. I mean, they're just laying the professors off because students aren't attending those disciplines anymore because there's no good jobs when they get out of college with maybe $100,000 worth of debt. So I think your job in this day and age is in a way much easier than it was maybe even 10 years ago. You got a great product. I mean, it should be easy to sell. And I guess the only point I'm trying to make is that get to them earlier. Don't wait till the 8th grade. Even if it goes down to 5th grade.
I agree with that.
And they should be in there every year, having themselves exposed to it. I mean, I don't know what you folks aren't scared, but there might be some more. There might be some of the traditionalists who are scared.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So I'll leave you with that. That's my comment. So.
Well, thank you for your support for the program and for calling in. And I'll see you.
Well, very good. And
see you on Friday.
Have a great show.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, he's a pretty smart fellow, and he's a world traveler. He's all over the place. And he's part of our Friday coffee group. So it took me a minute to recognize his voice, but
yeah, he makes a good point. We have every single one of our district schools, in addition to MVU 8th graders that come through our door, and somehow between 8th grade and 10th grade, there's not a lot of interest. So all of them leave. They're excited with what they saw. They tell their teachers and their guidance counselors they can't wait to come to the technical center. And then when it's time to sign up in their 10th or 11th grade, there's not as much interest as there was.
What is the grade that they can first sign up in? For
programs, some of our programs allow 10th graders to enter. And all of the programs take 11th and 12th graders.
Oh, okay. So they have to be in at least 10th grade.
Correct.
Okay. Well, I think that I like Leonard's point because the young people at 10, 11, 12 years old their minds are open. They haven't thought about this, but it gives them something to think about and as an alternative going forward. And it might even inspire them. For instance, if you or one of the students went into the classroom, 6th grade, let's say, and started talking about what they were doing and what the students could start doing to think, if they're thinking this might be something of interest to them, that, okay, you want to learn your math, make sure you focus on your math and do a good job, and whatever else, that might be applicable. And then they're working towards something. It's not just going to class and there's no real purpose. You know, when you're a youngster, you're not thinking about that there's a real purpose to your being in school. But if they have this in their head and it sounds fascinating, and they're told, gee, if you do this and, you know, get good grades or whatever, they're on a mission toward the rest of their lives. So I'm just the way I'm thinking.
It's logical.
Provides them a focus for their education.
Yes, yeah. And I'm just such a big believer in talking with our young people about life. You know, I've done that. I've gone to speak to the 7th and 8th graders a couple of times, and the letters that came to me the next week, 40 of them, when can you come back? I'm serious. You know, now I know that when life gets tough, I have to keep going, because I talked about my life before I talked about the Constitution and citizenship and how important they are to our country. I wanted to be real to them. And so I talked about my life and my upbringing and the work ethic that I got from the time I was just a little girl, and how that has served me well through the years and helped me to get through times when life smacked me in the face. And they're hungry. Even at the age that you're, you know, the students that you're working with, if you can fit in some life lessons, you know, or have the teachers do that, it's invaluable. It's just invaluable. It's great to have the skills, but the mindset, you know, the thought process about who I am and so forth just is so valuable. That's my forte.
Well, I think where you're headed with this, though, in the end, when you're talking about that usually happens within a family unit, when you're talking about life. And so what we're proud of is at the Technical Center, the students feel that they're part of a family.
Good.
And that's very important because they just feel that they're heard, and if they're looking for advice, we provide them advice. If they're looking for a job, we help them find a job. If they're looking for advice on how to dress for an interview, we're there to help them.
Perfect.
And they know that. So that's why I'm glad
Support
Leonard
system.
called in, because we really need to get the word out to everybody, because technical centers are not full across the state, which is a shame. So there is capacity at all technical centers. So why don't we have more?
Well, it's promotion, it's working together, you know, with other entities, the schools, whatever. It's getting the students, like you do, getting them into the schools to talk with the students. That's perfect. But also education for the general public, which is what we're doing tonight. But even letters to the editor from the kids who are in the program, if they're interested in doing that, or even if you come on again sometime and you want to bring a student or two, you know, we can't have too many people here but at once, but to talk about their experiences and, you know, somebody who's really excited about the opportunity to do that, what they're learning, what their goals are, what, you know, the whole thing. And also, you know, through student like scouting, or, you know, if you can get, there are 30 students, young men in Troop 70, the Boy Scout troop. You know, if you could reach out to them sometime and talk with them about, and bring one of the, or two of the boys along, the students, to talk. There are all kinds of ways, you know, to get messages out. And maybe do the, my mind's always going.
That's good.
Do the directors, as assistant directors of the various tech centers ever get together, and you do, and talk about how to reach out to the public? There are so many ways to do that, you know? You just have to make a plan. How are we going to reach out to the public? Now, do you have openings? Do you have, okay.
Yep, we still have openings. We're not at capacity yet.
Okay. In particular programs, or?
Actually, all of our programs right now have some openings. So
Okay.
there's a few that are close to being full, but there are some programs that have openings. Off the top of my head, we have building trades and automotive technologies. Both have openings.
Oh, they're important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Engineering technologies. There's openings in that program as well. And we have digital video production, which has openings.
Do you have a video that you can put together with some of the students and the instructors showing the various programs? You have one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that we bring to the middle schoolers. We show them.
Okay,
we show
good.
them that so that they can sort of get a sense of what they might be exploring when they come in as 8th graders.
Good.
But again, maybe we're doing that in 6th grade.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the
Even
other thing-
5th grade.
And to add to that is what Leanne is talking about is we have a comprehensive outreach marketing plan. So we have certain activities that we do throughout the year because we know that it is a choice to come to the school. But programs like this is going to help really relay a message that our programs are rigorous, they're relevant, and it's based on relationships as well. And there's many conversations that I overhear of adults thinking that my child should not go into a technical center because it's not going to be challenging. And so we know it's still going to be challenging, but there's that perception. And I know that my husband is a carpenter, my father's an electrician, and they have done very well for themselves. So we need to get that word out frequently to our students.
My brother never went to college. My father fell on hard times. Our mother had passed away. And my brother went to work at a lumber company at like 18 years old. And I'm telling you, I'm so proud of him. He can do anything from repair a car to put on a roof to put in a bathroom or do wiring or all of these things. I love to have him come visit.
Yeah.
But these are skills that not only can provide you with an income, but they can help you in your private life or if you're going to your sister's house. And so, this is really important. It's fundamental. And is there anything, we're down to the last three minutes or so, 2 minutes. So is there anything in particular that you'd like to close with to the public that we haven't covered?
Maybe a
Come
rundown
one,
of
come
the
all?
programs.
Yeah, maybe if I could just run down the program so that
Sure,
none
quickly.
are
Go
left
ahead.
out. So I've already mentioned these, but I'm going to mention them all again. So automotive technology, building trades, cosmetology, culinary arts, digital design, digital video production, engineering technologies, human services, medical professions, outdoor technology, and public safety and fire services. So those are all the programs that
That's
students can
fantastic.
participate in.
And, you're doing a great service in addition to being employed and providing another aspect of family to the young people. And unfortunately, too many young people today don't have a solid family structure at home. And so that's even more important to them. We all need that support system. So thank you both so much for what you do and for coming on the program. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to get myself over there one of these days when I'm not doing something.
Thank you, Linda.
And have a chance to go into the medical section for sure.
Anytime.
And if you have any goodies out there, I might snatch one. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in. I can't believe it. I think I'm closing the program and I still have less than a minute left. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for calling in. Have a great week. And I have someone filling in for me next week. I have a conflict. And so you'll have a fun show, I'm sure. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Good night.